Welcome back. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show right here on Afia TV. Ojei is here. Good morning.
Hi, good
Ojei.
morning.
How did you do?
I'm fine. I'm great. I was wondering when I woke up this morning, what actually happened to President Tinubu's visit to Abia State?
I mean, that's a good question. That's a very big question. Of course, other things obviously may have come in between him and that visit. I mean, the Anambra State government does not seem to be reacting negatively to it. So I guess some way, somehow, some kind of understanding has been reached between the two parties.
I just hope so.
I hope so. Let's watch and see. I mean, we'll see whether when he comes back from the Caribbean island, he will go to Abia State. All right, of course, we have a lot of interesting headlines making the news this morning. And without taking much more of your time, let's head straight into the top stories today, beginning from Daily Trust. And the biggest story here, we uncovered mind-boggling corruption in all sector. This is according to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Tinubu didn't make Buhari president, Boss Mustafa speaks. UAE reviews visa process for Nigerians, bans transit application. Plateau crisis, reps panel invites Mutfang Lalong to security conference. Strike, FCT malls third term extension for primary schools. I'll defeat Matawali before 10 a.m. on election day. This according to the Zamfara government. Federal government resumes trial of terrorists, 13 killed as bandits attack Niger communities, 30 gunmen neutralized in Katsina. On the nation, aviation experts knock a splash of cash by states on unviable airports. 369.4 billion naira spent by 19 subnationals. Pan MD, only 3 airports profitable. Tinubu's reforms building on Buhari's legacy. Federal government opens talks with U.S. over visa restriction. And moving on straight now to The Guardian. 2 years later, international travel restrictions spark fresh row over absence of ambassadors. Japa, Canada raises minimum proof of funds to 17 million naira per immigrant. Niger attack claims 13 as 20 bandits die in Kwara. Again, 20 gunmen raid Agwata local council, kill 4. Delegates will decide who gets ADC's presidential ticket, says Atiku spokesperson. Mutual funds rise by 105% to 5.9 trillion naira in HI on higher demand yields. 2027, don't underrate Tinubu, Ribado warns opposition. EFCC decries mind-boggling fraud at NNPCL, once unexplained wealth criminalized. UAE bans transit visas, imposes stricter entry rules for Nigerians. And moving on straight to The Punch. Diplomatic tensions, federal government pushes back as US UAE tighten visa rules. Ministry begins high-stakes negotiation as officials fault US over reciprocity claims. U.S. meeting, African leaders seek Trump's support to develop resources. IMF pledges support for FIRS on tax reforms. LG poll, police restrict movement in Lagos, deploy squads. Tinubu government seeking excuse to clamp down on coalition. This is according to the ADC. And on the Daily Times, Ponzi, Senate tasks federal government to protect vulnerable citizens from financial predators. 2027, Atiku denies meeting not to step down for Southern candidates. Wike orders security crackdown on one-chance syndicates. Capital punishment awaits vandals of electricity infrastructure. Onanuga's alleged overthrow plot reckless. ADC cautions presidency. Nigeria condemns U.S. visa policy shift, demands fairness in bilateral ties. Reps approve 774.77 billion naira at NIMASA 2025 revenue target. And of course, earning the big picture pictorial there on the front cover of Daily Times, showing the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, of course, right there during the launch of Enugu Air on Monday, alongside the Governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Mba.
Okay, Nigerian News Direct at 9th. OPEC seminar, FG calls for investments to boost production, energy security, as Lokbobiri laments unfair financing structure for African countries. CAC partners NSITF to strengthen employee compensation scheme. Nigeria's economy is steadily improving under Buhari. Under Tinubu, says Minister Idris as editors submit reports on law reforms. Lagos launches 20-year master plan to tackle traffic crisis. And lastly, right here on Nigerian News Direct, again, UAE slams tougher visa conditions on Nigerians as FG demands reversal of new US visa rules. Moving over to this day. Boss Mustafa, Buhari allowed institutions to work, prioritize structure over showmanship, says ex-president's constant 12 million votes bettered his presidency in 2015. Tinubu, my predecessor, showed humility, restraint, maturity in exercise of presidential powers. Oba Igbena, 40 years ago, I was the last journalist to interview Buhari just before IBB's coup. Lukman, coalition will avoid past mistakes of Atiku Obi to defeat Tinubu in 2027, discloses whoever emerges presidential candidate will get massive support. Coalition, I beg your pardon, won't stand on anybody's mandates. Tinubu planning clampdown on opposition leaders. Abdullahi raises the alarm. Coalition dead on arrival, declares ACF spokesman. Okay, moving over to Daily Independent. U.S. visa restrictions is about reciprocity on Nigeria. Experts warns UAE stops transit visa for Nigerians. Senate orders probe into Ponzi schemes after 1.3 trillion naira Civic collapse. Moves to amend Electricity Act to rescue falling power sector. EFCC chair to lawmakers criminalize unexplained wealth or forget anti-corruption victory. Lawyers submit petition to House of Reps against NMDPRA MD 6 months after appointments. Ganduje inaugurated chair of Fans Board. 2015, nobody made Buhari president, says Boss Mustafa, as Gowon defends Buhari's legacy, says Buhari's integrity unshaken, even critics can't deny it. Moving over to Salient Times, Tinubu will be removed by votes, not bullets. ADC replies, presidency. Government Ojei in talks as bandits leader embraces peace path. We are not in Senate to make money, says Akpabio. Senate passes Electricity Act amendment bill to tackle sector collapse. 200-level Babcock University student reportedly commits suicide in Ogun. 30 bandits neutralized, 2 soldiers, 3 policemen dead during heavy gun battle in Katsina. World Bank places Nigeria behind Libya, Gabon in income rankings. Patients bear the brunt of as health workers strike in FCT center's 4th month. Ganduje, 7 others inaugurated as fan board members. Lastly, Nigerian Tribune. Buhari's popularity won 12.5 million votes for APC in 2015, says ex-FGF Mustafa. Ponzi scheme Senate 4th week regulatory rose by CBN SEC. Others probes loss of 1.3 trillion naira in Civic's crash. Court slams €1 million damages against Union Bank over breach negligence. Award 50 million naira damages in favor of Nikon Investments Limited. Union Bank heads to appeal court. UAE imposes fresh visa conditions on Nigerians, bans transit visa. 2027 ADC raises the alarm, alleges plot to clamp down on opposition leaders. Ex-ADC national chairman Ganduje appointed fan board chairman. Nigeria's oil rig count hits 46, says NUPRC. 3 police officers, 2 soldiers die as security forces kill 30 bandits in Katsina. Suspected bandits kill 13 in Niger community. Oyo government procures 2 aircraft to improve security. ICPC recovers 21 billion naira from salary fraud in one investigation. False revenue declared by NNPCL. And lastly, Fayemi Oyebanji won't leave our party for ADC, says APC.
All right, thank you, Ojei. And of course, we're joined now all the way from Comrade Ojei. Comrade Ojei joins us from probably either Abuja or Asaba this morning. He's going to confirm it. Comrade Ojei is the National Coordinator, Young Nigerian Rights Organization. Comrade Ojei, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I would like you
from
to...
Asaba, Delta State.
Oh, you're back to Asaba again. I thought you had abandoned Asaba for good after the issue with the defection. So immediately I wanted to introduce you. I realized that it's possible you're no longer in Asaba. Maybe you've moved into Abuja permanently.
Of course, I've relocated to the FCT, Abuja. I only came to visit some of my friends, then also to attend to some cases at the state CID.
Very interesting. Right, so right now you're in Asaba, Delta State then?
Yes, I will leave on Saturday.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Let's not say that too much in the open because you don't know who is trying to mark your movements. Okay. All right.
I'm easy to find. I don't hide. I'm easy to find.
Okay. Maybe somebody will be trying to find you after today's program. All right, let's begin with the boldest headline here on Daily Trust. We're seeing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission saying that it has uncovered mind-boggling corruption in the oil sector and is trying to task the government to start to criminalize unexplained wealth. I'm sure you've been following up on this story. You know, EFCC saying that this corruption is to the scale of being mind-boggling. What do you suspect the EFCC is up against at this point in time concerning the nation's oil sector?
The fact remains that the Bible says the young person or the person who wants to remove the log of food in the speck in somebody's eye should focus on removing the log of food at his own eyes. So the EFCC that is coming to tell us that there is mind-boggling discovery of corruption practices in the oil and gas industry, in the oil sector. They should also tell us the role they have played over the years, the funds they have recovered, what have they used it for? How has these funds benefited the Nigerian people? Is it infrastructure of road? Is it health benefits? Is it supporting small businesses with the aim to address the social dimension of crime control? Because unemployment leads to criminality. The EFCC, they have not done well over the years, from inception to date, with respect to investing or reinvesting these funds that are being recovered from corrupt practice. We also had in the past where we see news of EFCC staffs diverting evidences that they were supposed to use during prosecution of these those that are alleged to have indicted themselves by way of committing crimes or involved in crime by way of conspiracy or directly being involved. So the EFCC should stop gaslighting Nigerian people, including the government, the federal government, because over the years, Abacha loot. How has this loot been reinvested back to the society so that the Nigerian people will benefit for public interest? So they should stop. Corruption in Nigeria is on all sectors, at all levels, and you will notice that this current administration, APC, since 2015 to date, they have never been interested in addressing corruption or fighting corruption, whether at the federal level, the state, or the local government level. The APC government, they have not shown any interest with addressing corrupt practice, with containing corrupt practice, with accountability and transparency. It has never been their role.
Okay, I want to ask, right, one would think that since our current Minister of Petroleum doubles as the president of the nation, that these corruptions, these kind of conversations won't be coming on the front burner, could be curtailed. Can you make it make sense to all of us right here that why are we still having this conversation when our now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is also the Minister of Petroleum?
The fact remains that, like I said, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not a man that believes in accountability, because if he actually wanted to fight corruption on absorption of office, you will have seen a lot of Nigerians, politicians that played role in the previous administration of President Buhari. You will see them in prison, but a lot of them are walking free. It's only God Nemefele that we know that he's still in detention because of the role he played to frustrate the effort of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to emerge as the president by way of banning of the old naira. So this administration, they are not interested on accountability, on transparency. All we know is that they have made life more miserable for the common Nigerian.
All right, let's look at this other headline here.
They more pains. Nothing is going on that is right.
Let's bring it
at
home.
All levels.
Let's bring it home right now. Speaking about all levels, let's come to the level of the Southeast region. We're seeing this story here, talked into The Guardian. We actually commenced the show trying to highlight that story, and this concerns let's take it here from Guardian. Again, 20 gunmen raid Agwata local council, kill 4. You're seeing residents, stakeholders, the media as a whole clamoring on the rate of insecurity in Oko and of course in Agwata local council. We're seeing Oko and Ekolobia communities in Agwata local government area of Anambra State. In this particular incident, gunmen, unidentified gunmen, have gone ahead to raid the community, Ekolobia in Agwata, and we're seeing that no less than 4 people, according to eyewitnesses, have been reported dead and leaving several others injured. Now, this time around, the unidentified gunmen struck in broad daylight, causing panic. Traders who were just going to open their shops, people who were just commuting, travelers and the like, did not see this coming. We're seeing one of the gunmen there walking confidently, walking boldly, unperturbed in broad daylight. These gunmen were shooting in all directions. And people do not think that the governor or the government of Anambra State, rather, is prioritizing the safety of its residents. They are even going ahead to tie this incident to the fact that the governor's hometown is just a stone throw away from the affected area. What is your appreciation of this new attack in Ekolobia, in Agwata? What do you make of this, and what exactly is the way forward in your view?
You see, security business is a shared responsibility between the government and the people. The fact remains that the people of Anambra, they will not say they are not aware. They saw this coming and they contributed to it. Never you support anything that is not right, because it has a way of blowing back at you. Recall when Boko Haram started, the Northerners were cheering for them. They were clapping for the Boko Haram activities. But over time, it became a beast that started going after the same Northerners. Recall there was a time they were blasting churches. They were bombing churches and Muslims were clapping. Today, not less than 1,500 communities in the north are now ghost cities. Now, come to Southeast. When the unknown government started their activities, the Easterners were cheering them, were clapping for them, and today we saw what it has become. Governor Soludo, in his own capacity, has done his best lately to set up Operation Udogachi that is now clamping down on insecurity. But then there's a lot of cases of human rights violation by this Udogachi security agency or men. They violate human rights. They are not being checkmated by credible organizations like the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Nigerian Bar Association, Justice of Peace, and others. So the security matter is not a rocket science in Nigeria. It's just that the government has failed our people by not educating our people on how to play their role as their civic duty that they owe our country, Nigeria. The National Orientation Agency, they are not doing anything to address the issue of misinformation and disinformation. You will see some youth or some Nigerians will come online to create some contents that are not true or that are deceitful, that are inciting. Instead of National Orientation Agency at the federal level or the Bureau of Orientation at state level to address these matters, you see that they will just play the silent treatment. And before you say Jesus is Lord, the masses will be getting the wrong perception or perspective. Now look at where it got us today in the southeast. Look at where it got us today in the northern Nigeria. Here in Delta states, we also have our own share of insecurity. But then since April this year, after my resignation, the state government stepped up. The Commissioner of Police, the DSS, they have stepped up their games, and they have arrested not less than 100 persons who, upon investigation, most of them are from Borno State and some from Nigeria Republic. A lot of weapons, light arms have been recovered. So accountability is going on with respect to addressing insecurity in the states.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that my point is security matter is a shared responsibility. The government should start putting out fines. Like if you give information to the government, there is a compensation that you get. Look at FBI. If the FBI is looking for any person, they are going to publish the person's picture on CNN, and a fine will be attached to it. And by the time fines are added to these matters, you see that citizens will start giving information. Even those that are working with the person that is being looked for,
Comrade
they will start cooperating
I
with
have
the
to
government.
come in there at this point in time. You know, we also have to recognize the fact that some of these unidentified gunmen have stayed unidentified forever. There is no real gunman that we've seen being unmasked to make people feel that this intel that they are giving as part of the collective responsibility is even yielding results. So, you know, I would like us to come to that later, really assess why these gunmen are not being unmasked. Ojei, go ahead.
Yeah, and also you made a statement that, yeah, people supported these people, but why we're not going back to how this whole thing started, right? We have to actually look into that. And are you saying also that the government of Anambra State, which is championed by Governor Chukwuma Soludo, is not doing enough in terms of security? We just saw a couple of months, they flagged off Operation Udogachi, right? Are you saying that they're not doing enough to, you know, check these menace happening in Anambra State?
Governor Soludo Charles is doing marvelously well. He's doing so good that himself and his House of Assembly, they enacted a law that criminalized cultism. And I don't think there are more than 3 states in Nigeria that has criminalized cultism, because when you arrest cultists, there is no law in most states for prosecuting them. So Governor Charles Soludo, he has addressed that issue of cultism. Then on the matter of security, Charles Soludo is doing marvelously well with his Operation Udogachi. But the area that he needs to look upon is the area of violation of the rights of suspects. Using pestle to hit the knees of suspects. Because, you know, in Nigeria, we have the best laws when you talk about the entrenchment of human rights in our constitution, in our Anti-Torture Act, African Charter on Human and People's Rights Act. You see that Nigeria is a signatory even to the United Nations Instrument of Human Rights. But then, implementation is our problem. Our administration of criminal justice gives rights to suspects. So you don't have the right to torture suspects. Torture is a crime in Nigeria. And we've seen a lot of viral videos that Udogachi tortures their suspects with the use of pestle. So, Governor Charles, you are doing well, but please address the human rights violation. Suspects still have rights. You are still innocent until proven guilty. So even if you are alleged to be a suspect, the persons must be proven by the law courts. We have laws that will hold them accountable for their crime. Udogachi should tread carefully, should stop violating human rights, unless they are telling us that Nigeria or Anambra State is no longer under the constitution that gives fundamental rights from the government to the people of Nigeria by way of protecting their human rights. So Governor Charles Soludo is doing, but they should create a system whereby they monetize information. You give information to the state government, you get a particular amount for that information.
I think
by the time you see that they monetize it, people will start coming out with information that will lead to unmasking those that are creating chaos in the states.
They always place a bounty. I know of a couple of times they place bounties, giving those information in Anambra State. But I was still asking, going back to where this whole thing started, because you're blaming the people of supporting maybe some of these individuals that maybe grew into something that we can actually, handle at this point in time. Why are those issues that started this thing still prevalent even in the now?
Our government has failed us. The primary aim of government is the welfare and security of its people. But our government of Nigeria has proven incapable at all levels, whether state, local government, or federal level, to protect these rights, these provisions of the Constitution. Unemployment is an issue, it's a big issue. Look, like I said earlier, when the people are employed, when there is internationalization, when there is power generation, when there is security with respect to job creation security, you see that a lot of persons will not want to go into criminality. When you want to control crime, you create a welfare system. Look at Finland, look at Sweden, look at UK. The crime is very minimal. Why? There is a welfare system. If the government of Anambra State could create a welfare system, let's assume those that finish secondary school, you will be getting 100,000 naira monthly. Those that are graduates, you get 150 or 200,000, as long as you are not employed. And there will be a database system where it's going to be flagged if you are unemployed, and those that, the moment you are now employed, it will be flagged that you are employed. So you are no longer going to be benefiting from the unemployment benefits. You will see that it will reduce crime. Crime control is not all about security architecture by way of hardware, bulletproof vests, bulletproof cars, grenades, gun, tear gas. No, you think about how to create provision, how to make provision for these citizens. It's going to reduce the crime rate in the state or in the country. So our government should start looking towards that direction.
Okay.
All right, Comrade Ojei, thank you so much for that assessment. Now, I'd like us to take a moment to look at what eyewitnesses are reporting, or what they reported yesterday when these unidentified gunmen struck Agwata local government area of Anambra State, and specifically Ekulobia. Let's really hear how sporadic these shootings really were. Of course, like I said, much later on today's show, we're going to be hearing, hopefully, from the Anambra State government on this matter. Let's take a look at this and then we'll come back.
Happening live at Ekulobia roundabout. At Ekulobia roundabout this morning, happening live at Ekulobia roundabout.
And of course, there you have it, happened yesterday at Ekulobia roundabout. Comrade Ojei, what message is it passing that such an act would happen in broad daylight?
You see, the government of Anambra State, the government of Nigeria, they need to up their game. They need to increase the incentive, because currently, if you check Anambra State and most states, apart from Lagos State, you see that there's no motivation for the security agents. I'm talking about free education for the children of security agents. Then if you are killed in action or on duty, your family will be well taken care of in your absence. That is going to motivate our policemen and other security stakeholders, because there's currently no motivation for these security men. There is no bulletproof armored vehicles. I mean, the last I checked in Anambra, the ones that they had, there was sabotage because it was like fuel and petrol. A diesel engine was taken to a fuel station and filled with petrol when you know it cannot function. So most of the armored vehicles in the past were sabotaged. So other state governments should also protect these security agents, because if the police, Anambra State police, various police stations have armored vehicles, there's incentive, they are motivated. You will see that the police in Ekulobia will move and face these men, because our policemen, our security agents cannot be taking risk without, confronting these unknown gunmen or faceless criminals, with cars that are not bulletproof, because you are taking a risk. For you to confront such armed men that are bold during the day to carry out this operation, you should have your bulletproof vest, you should have your armored vehicles, you should have your equipment that will protect you in as much as you are going to implement your duty, your task, your mandate as a security agent. You have a duty of care to protect yourself also. So the government should start making provisions for these gadgets for our policemen.
In terms of provisions as well, Comrade Ojei, do you think that the term unidentified, unknown should be removed from the security lexicon?
Unidentified in what aspects?
The term unidentified gunmen, unknown gunmen, yet to be identified, should that terminology be removed from lexicon? Because it appears that it has become an envelope approach to attacks of this nature. It appears as if there is no real effort in really unveiling who these faceless criminals are. It's everything that happens of this nature. We just hear unknown gunmen, and then it appears as if they can never be brought to book. So is it a term of convenience?
This insecurity also has touch of politics. It's political sometimes. Sometimes it's politically motivated. And even when policemen trace and track and arrest these young men that carried out this chaos, before you say Jesus is Lord, they are back to the streets. Why? They have a godfather somewhere. So the political aspect of criminality is a dangerous one, but our politicians in Nigeria, they don't help matters. If you go to the north, it's still the same matter. You come to the south, it's still the same matter, with respect to lack of accountability from our governments. Our governments always make it very easy for these criminals, because many a times persons that carried out such operations are used during politics against their political opponents.
There's something
so it's a very big problem that is in our hand currently in Nigeria, because our politicians always politicize criminality.
There's something I want to ask. Let me just chip in this, right? This stuff happened like in the city center. In Amobia, if you know Anambra or all kind of that, Amobia is like, it is like the city center of Anambra State too, close to Oka. And there is
Ekulobia, you mean?
Is it Ekulobia?
Yes, Ekulobia.
Okay. So, but there was no counter from our security agencies right there. But you're making an excuse for these individuals that is because of this and because of that. Now, this brings us to the people of Anambra safe, the individuals. Are they safe really that this kind of action happened and there was nothing to counter?
And the shootings appear to have continued for, a long enough period of time for something to be done about it. And it also brings up the conversation yet again about self-defense, which many people are advocating, state policing, which we're seeing a lot of governments, advocating at the same time. So, let's really gain your input on this.
As for state police, I've always been an advocate against state police, because governors will now use this state police against their opponents. You know how Nigeria is. you know how it works politically. Because most of all this violence you see in Nigeria, they are state-sponsored.
But the question, Comrade Ojei, is that the question we're asking is, this attack went on for a profound period of time, and there was no counterattack from the security forces. Can we appreciate that for a minute?
Of course, like I said, the policemen, they have a duty of care to protect themselves. They can't go and confront such criminals, because I call them criminals because this is criminality, without protecting themselves, without bulletproof vests, without armored vehicles. Look, you don't just expose yourself to danger in as much as you are a security agent. The Anambra State government, the government of Nigeria, should up the game by way of ensuring that our police officers, while tackling crime, while working towards their mandate of protecting us, the government needs to make provision for security gadgets to protect our policemen that are supposed to be defending us.
Right.
Because if you were to be a police officer, you can't go there vulnerable. You can't expose yourself. You have family, you have loved ones. You might have kids that needs you to be there for them. You can't go and gamble by confronting these criminals without protecting yourself. Look at other countries. Look at USA. Look at UK. Look at Australia. If the SWAT of US, they are going to confront crisis as such, they go with their armored vehicles. They go with their bulletproof vests. They go with every tool or every equipment that will help them achieve their goal for confronting those criminals.
That's right.
So we can't expose our policemen. Our government should live up to expectation at all levels, the state and federal government. Even at the local government level, there should be provisions to protect our security agents.
All right. Thank you so much, Comrade Ojei. We'll leave it at that because we're out of time. But thank you for your analysis, and definitely we're going to continue to follow this story on the show. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
The Morning Show returns in just seconds as we take regional stories. This time around, we'll come back to Enugu, where we're seeing tricyclists and bus drivers explaining why transport fares have continued to increase. This time, they're saying it's not just about the distance. They're also factoring into, well, the equation or the factors. Stay tuned.